Welcome to the Fempire podcast for women building empires where your health, relationships, and wealth rise together. Here we focus on what moves the needle the most. I am your host, Jessica Joy. Let's sharpen the axe and dive in. Welcome. Today we have a special guest. This is Kelly K. Stalnaker. She is a professional dancer, a photographer, and a certified feminine embodiment coach. I met Kelly at one of her dance classes and I was blown away because not only is she an amazing dancer, but the space that she holds to help women tap into something deeper within them and really expand that blew me away. And then the more I learned about her, the more I realized this is not just about dance. This is about becoming the fullest version of yourself. And I just feel like she's such an embodiment of that. So Kelly, welcome. We are so happy that you're here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yes. Also, Kelly has recently gone through an injury. We'll talk more about it, but she can't currently dance. And I've been watching her journey and how she's walking herself through it so powerfully. So we got to learn a lot from you today. But first, let's start how did you get into dance and tell us a little bit about your journey there and we'll go from there.
Oh my God. It's funny. It's probably my most commonly asked question. And it's the question I never know how to answer for whatever reason. I've never rehearsed an answer to this question. I started dancing when I was really little, like 5 years old. And I was with a heavy performance-based dance company. I'm talking like I was in little tiny itty bitty leotards, like rocking out on the stage. And then I kept dancing, even though I moved and trained in ballet, tap, jazz, acrobatics, all the things. And then got really, really hardcore into competitive cheer and gymnastics. And that took me all over the country and ended up resulting in me cheering for the University of Florida. And then I kind of got out of the performance thing. I was like, this is what society says you're supposed to do. Even though when I was little, I used to draw like what my dance studio would look like. And I was going to dance forever. And then I got caught up in that societal spiral that says, this is what you should do. This is what you're supposed to do. So I went to college. I got a degree in history. I got a master's degree in social sciences. And at the same time, I'm performing on the side. And it wasn't until I would say years of being in the cycle of you're supposed to be really great in corporate America that I just got really fed up one day and quit. And then I still had other jobs from there, but I just focused my attention fully on dance. And it was the best thing that I ever did, even though obviously I'm injured right now. But the best thing I ever did because it felt like this whisper in my soul was no longer repressed and I let it out and movement became not only my outlet, but my passion and the way that I could best express myself. So now that's what I do. And then I try to help other women do the same.
Yes. The courage, the audacity. You have a quote. It was on your website. It says, "We are meant to move and be moved." I was like, you just embody that whole part of it. And so I really acknowledge you, kind of burning the boats and being like, nope, this is my soul calling. I'm going to figure it out. So I know for me, when it comes to dance, I use it to explore my edge. Now I'm beginner status. I'm not about to say I'm a dancer. But tell us more about how you can use it as a modality to play bigger, feel into what you need to feel into. I'll let you explore that and we can go from there.
I love that. You use it to explore my edge. I just wrote that down and put it in quotes and put Jessica Joy, explore my edge. I love that. And your edge can get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? You can let more and more out. And so I love how you said explore my edge because you can actually move that needle quite a bit. Dance is a modality to express yourself. I mean, there's so many different types of dance and there's so many different types of movement. So I'll use an example so that I don't go on a 30-minute tangent. But yesterday I was training some girls in my academy called Audacity Academy. Like you said, have some audacity. And one of the things we did at the beginning of the session is I had them sit in front of the mirror and just on their face express from the inside sadness, then happiness, then frustration, resentment, anger, excitement, joy, so that they could begin to take the feeling that we all have. We have all of these feelings swirling around in us at all times, especially as women. We're so dynamic in the feelings that we have. And to be able to turn those on or tap into those at will and express them, and maybe even just leave something behind on the dance floor, can be so freeing. Becomes, to use your words, not just a modality for movement and strength or performance, but also profoundly healing in so many ways, because we get to feel more comfortable with the emotions that we have when we can turn them on at will and be okay with that and be okay with surrendering to the feeling that a song gives us. So in this particular instance, yesterday, we were playing with a song that's about revenge. It was Demi Lovato's Sorry, Not Sorry. And I wanted them to fully release. I mean, when she's singing that song, she's screaming, I'm not sorry, right? So I wanted to feel that from the inside of their body, not as an expression pasted on their face. And so we started to get comfortable with releasing that from the inside. So anytime you've ever felt that way, let's tap into it and release it. And it's not something to be feared. And when we can switch between our different feelings in a performance realm in dance, and you can do a song that's sad and you can do a song that's happy, those emotions become healing instead of something to avoid. You start to see the beauty in being able to feel and release that pain. And then it's magnified because you can move through that pain at the same time.
Yes.
Or excitement or resentment or whatever it is.
Oh my gosh, I love two things. One, allowing the emotion and then amplifying it through movement. I think the safety to feel it. And that's some of the edges that I'll come across. And I call it nervous system training walks, where we're on a walking pad and it's using movement to get into your body. But it's like, oh, do I have stories around this is too much, or don't be too sexy, or don't watch. When I go to a dance class, I still have an edge of watching myself in the mirror. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't watch myself too much. I'm obsessed with myself. I'm like, that's not even true. What is that? It's some type of edge. And so I feel like with this emotion, it's like, I remember the class I took with you, and it was about being messy and just letting yourself be messy. And of course, in the class, my heel breaks. I'm in one knee pad. It's just messy.
Yeah.
It's the practice of whoa, this is really bad, but it's messy, and embracing it. So one, I love that it's allowing it. And then when it comes to movement, yeah, it really has to come from feeling, not I'm performing sadness. It's how do I tap in and have it come from within and out? Something I'm working on. So yes. I love how you add those practices into your classes. That's what really stood out to me when I attended yours. You talked about using the floor. Can you go into that? You had such a good take on letting it hold you or pushing off of it. It was dang, this is an experience.
Yeah. I call it staying grounded, dancing grounded. It's not my word. It's something that's really common in dance, but it's probably a good analogy for life. So in dancing, when we get a little bit wobbly, especially if you're in heels, you're on releve, you're on the ball of your foot the whole time, right? But even if you're in sneakers, it's easy to get wobbly, especially when you start turning and you're going to turn from the left. You're going to do, maybe a full turn around to the front. It's easy to get tripped up in that moment. But when we really start to feel the weight of our body on the floor and we can trust that the floor is going to hold us, we end up stepping with more authority, and it helps us remain more balanced in the process. Whereas if we step tentatively because we're questioning whether the floor is going to save us or not, then that actually creates more wobble. And dance is like life. It's very much an analogy for life. If you can trust your foundation, if you can trust in God, if you can trust who you are, if you can trust in your principles, then you can step more firmly into any room, into any space, in any moment, even when life feels a little wobbly.
Yes. So good. I constantly have to remind myself to ground down into my core. I'm very much energy out the top of my head. I'm so when you gave that cue, okay, trust. I'm okay. And then I would lose it. I'd catch myself not doing it. I'm okay, down it goes. So
I have a story.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
So I was talking to some of the girls at Audacity the other day, and there are times where when I can see when they feel a little wobbly, because I could see that their step isn't quite big enough. It's maybe just, again, tentative. It's a little shaky. It steps onto the floor, and I'm like, step like you mean it, even if you're wrong. Step like you mean it. And I told a story about me doing a solo last year. I did a solo performance in Africa and Morocco. And I remember being on stage and stepping and feeling a little wobbly and being like, okay, feel the floor, like feel the floor, find your power. And it's in the ground, you know, it's not in thinking, like it's in the ground. So pushing off the ground, trusting the earth. And I remember telling them that story. And of course they're like, you get wobbly? I'm like, yes, we all do. Like we all get a little wobbly, but it's relating it to life. And I'm like, when you leave the rest of the week, I want you to walk into the room, trusting every step that you take. Like step with authority, especially when you don't feel great, especially when life feels out of control. Grab things with authority. I'm grabbing the water. I'm putting it here. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm grabbing my pen. I'm picking it up. And it's really trusting your movement. You know, it's not so much about the ground as it is about trusting that your foot's in the right place, trusting yourself to walk boldly, even when things feel crazy.
Amen. Exactly. That's what I love about dance and movement. It's like you get to practice that feeling in your body. It gets you out of your head. Or us women, we can have like a bazillion tabs open. And then we're like, overthinking. Oh, do I own it? I know it. You can waste so much time and like, do I know it well enough? Oh, no, no. BS. Like, you know it. Just go. And so in the walks that I host, it's all about practicing. I call it relaxed power. But it's very similar energy where it's like, I'm chill and I own it. And then you just go, you get that feeling in your body. And I think movement's such an amazing way to, it's like training your nervous system. It's training a certain feeling. It's embodying a certain energy. And you get to practice that in dance. It's like the best way to do it because you could just get in your head, just like life. Amen. So I would love to hear about some of the coaching you do, and then we'll go into like how you're navigating this injury. So you talked about coaching women not just in dance, but in confidence. And you even we had a conversation a bit about how you think there's kind of a misunderstanding around confidence. So let's talk about how you view confidence and how you coach people into that.
This isn't such a soapbox for me. So I think on the internet, like, which is right, we're all on the internet these days, unfortunately, but it's all about confidence. If you get the skill, when you become really good at the thing, if then you can be confident. And I hear this all the time. I hear it from these really famous business gurus that you have to get really good and then you can be confident. But confidence isn't something we discover. Confidence isn't something that's over here that we have to reach for. Think about that. Think about reaching for something that's away from you. We all think confidence is outside of us. We're going to find it somewhere and then wonder why we never feel confident. If we were going to find it somewhere, we'd probably feel really confident by now, right? For reaching for something good at something. But it actually, if you picture reaching for something, it takes you out of alignment with yourself and can make you fall over. And I suggest a different view of confidence altogether, that confidence is always inside of you. You always have it. And it has nothing to do with skills. Skills are mastery. If those brought confidence, then there wouldn't be anyone in the world who wasn't confident, who was good at something. But we know that's not true. Oftentimes the people who are really great at something are sometimes the most insecure about their skill or the least confident in it. So because there are examples of that, it cannot mean that mastery equals confidence. It doesn't. And so confidence has nothing to do with skills. You can have confidence in your ability to do something, which is different than just having confidence or self-confidence. And so as I kept mulling around, I remember a couple of years ago, I did this workshop at Hotel Hyatt during International Women's Day about confidence. And I'm like, actually, what is confidence? Are we all talking about the same thing? Because I don't think we're talking about the same thing. And so I went back to the root words of confidence. And confidence is broken down into con and fidere. Con means with. It's a Latin root word. Fidere means trust. So then confidence means with trust. And therefore self-confidence means with trust in oneself. It does not say having the best skills. It does not say being super trained up in something. It just means having trust in oneself. Are you going to say nice things to yourself, for yourself, or are you going to beat yourself up? It's self-compassion in practice, right? It's not thinking that your confidence is tied into other people's opinions of you, because it's actually not. Because at the end of the day, I don't think that any person actually cares that much about what other people care about them. They care about the story they're going to tell themselves when their head hits the pillow at night, about what they think of themselves because they think somebody thinks something of them. So it's all like our own perspective, right? Like our pain is just in our perspective. And so really, when I think about building self-confidence in the women that I'm around, it's helping them build trust in themselves. And if you're not being yourself, you can't build trust in yourself. If you're hiding yourself, how can you build trust in yourself? So it's tapping into those whispers in the body, to those things you don't want to say, to that thing you didn't want to express, and getting more comfortable doing it, and then saying nice things to yourself after it's done. That builds self-confidence more than skill mastery ever will.
I agree. We concur, because that's like, it's within you. So no matter what you're doing, you bring that to it. So if you are perchance learning a skill, whether it's dance or business, it's like, oh, I have a level of self-trust within myself, and I'm embodying that energy. And I love the edge you talked about with it's being really real with yourself, like saying the thing you didn't want to say. How can you have self-confidence or trust yourself if you don't know yourself, if you don't be yourself? What a gift. What a permission slip. That I agree. I think you're spot on with what it is. And it's so nice, because I have heard the business gurus being like, well, you're going to suck in the beginning and you're going to feel terrible about yourself, and then you get better. And it's like, that's just skill building.
I'm like, so if I have self-confidence, I can't walk into a room. If I have self-confidence, I can't walk in to learn a new skill. I'm not allowed to feel confident now.
I know. Ew. I don't like it.
Says who?
Unsubscribe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you would perform better or worse while learning the skill. Doesn't quite even make sense. So bravo for that. So let's talk about the injury. So tell us what happened, and how's the process going? How have you got yourself through this? Because I broke my ankle 3 years ago, and man, it was it was an internal dance of like not letting myself go into negativity. But yeah, tell us what happened and how you're leading yourself through it.
Yeah. I've been on crutches for 4 months, over 4 months now. And I'm probably still, God willing, about 2 weeks out from being able to walk again, maybe a week if I'm really, really lucky. And it's been crazy. I mean, I wish I could say I have navigated this entire process with so much grace and daily positivity, but I haven't. Like, I have had meltdowns. I have had days where I feel so positive and so powerful, and I believe in, God will heal me. And then there are days where I am cursing his name, and I later apologize, but I'm a God girl. I've had days where I have a meltdown. Right before we got on this podcast, I got so frustrated that I could not grab my own shirt because I didn't know where my shirt was, because I haven't been able to put all my clothes away, that I just got really upset and pouty. And sometimes I will cry, and sometimes I won't. Sometimes I feel hopeful, and sometimes I don't. And that's just the reality of the healing journey. So what happened is, it's kind of complicated, but also not. It came down to a cortisone injection in my hip from an orthopedic physician named Dr. Watson at Florida Orthopedic Institute, who told me there was no risk to getting a cortisone injection in my hip, that it wouldn't make it any worse. I had had a labral tear that I got in 2023, and a labral tear is a really common hip injury, especially for dancers, but I didn't even know I had one for 10 months. I just thought it hurt really bad. It was misdiagnosed as like a TFL, which is the muscle right there, as a strain, but it was a tear. So 10 months later, I had been dancing on this like all of 2023. I'm talking, I was dancing 20 to 40 hours a week on really, really extreme pain, and then saw a second opinion found this doctor who said, let's just give you a cortisone injection. Cortisone injection felt amazing for 8 months. And then when it wore off, I went back and he said, okay, here are your options. You can do surgery or you can keep getting cortisone. I said, will cortisone make it worse? He said, no, as long as they're spaced apart enough. So I got a few cortisone injections in my hip, spaced about 6 months apart. And then December 3rd, I got my 4th cortisone injection in my hip, which again, this doctor told me there was no risk it could make my hip worse. The cortisone, I had a severe systemic effect to the cortisone. And for like 3 weeks, I had crazy adrenaline rushes and my skin was hot to the touch. And about a month later, a rash broke out on my face. And around that same time, I couldn't walk anymore. And the cortisone ate away at the bone, my hip bone, essentially, and it collapsed on itself partially. So I got what's called a subchondral insufficiency fracture in my hip. And after like 8 opinions on what had occurred, every single doctor agreed that it was from the cortisone injection and that cortisone injections are catabolic in nature, meaning they eat away at what's there. So I ended up finding somebody who kind of specializes in this, and they said, hey, let's try our best to be non-invasive and see if it heals itself. And they said, your bone in your hip can't really pop back out to a sphere, but let's see what happens. My bone, miraculously, I believe this is the power of prayer and God, popped back out to a sphere, which is great. Amazing. But I would say a lot of the challenge now is that the cortisone did enough that it ate away at my bone density as well. And so in that hip, I am contending with some bone density challenges that we're trying to address. And I'm on like a really slow walk again kind of path because bones heal really slowly, especially bones that don't have a lot of blood flow, like the femoral head in the hip. So I'm slowly starting the process of like putting weight on it again. One of the biggest challenges throughout this injury has been all of the injuries that have come as a result of being on crutches for this long. So like I've torn the front of my shoulder, the back of my shoulder, my knee hurts, my back hurts, all these things that have now occurred from non-weight bearing for so long. So, it's like, what do you do besides just surrender and then freak out if you need to, and then surrender again? And it's a repeat process. Like it never ends. Just like the process of being healthy, like the process of growing, like the process of, if you want to be a positive person, you're not, right? It's a repeat pattern. Like you can't stop going to the gym or you're not going to stay strong. It's the same thing with this. I can't stop trying to be positive or I would definitely get to a dark place. And I have a couple times during this experience been in dark places for sure.
I think one of the hardest things would be all the unknown you're having to experience. It's
100%.
different if it's like, I broke something, it will take this amount of time to heal. It's like, okay, what's going on? And there's not exactly lots of people go through this and here's what's going to happen. It's like, okay, we're seeing how your body responds. And it's like,
it's like, I feel seen when you do that right now. That has been the big challenge during this experience. And how do you show up in the face of uncertainty? It's at the beginning, they said your will collapse and you need a hip replacement. So I dealt with that for a week, which 7 days for a dancer to think your movement is taken away when literally the day before you got the MRI, you were like dancing full out. It just hurt really bad. And then for it to be people telling you you're too young for a hip replacement, it's going to wear out too fast. You can't do that. And you're like, but this is my only option. And you're toiling. And then they tell you it might heal, but we don't know if it will. It could collapse. We're not sure. We don't know what the timeline looks like. It's usually around this. You're dealing with that. 2 weeks later, my legs started turning purple. They couldn't tell me why. They didn't know. Then you're like, it's this roller coaster of emotions. It's a roller coaster of trust. It's a roller coaster, not just in the moment, but of what you think your future will look like and being able to plan and envision even what your life looks like 2 years from now. Like, am I going to be okay? What do I need to change my career? Like, what's happening to me? And then, even now as I'm reloading, like, I don't know what other injuries I'm going to get throughout this process. I don't know what's going to heal and what's going to require something extra. I don't know how my bone will respond. So they've been honest. We don't know as you reload your bone if it is going to stay strong or if it's going to fracture. Like, we don't know. And so definitely, like you said, the uncertainty that is really, really hard. And life is uncertain all the time, but to be faced with clear uncertainty is and has been extremely challenging. And then it's the identity part too. It's like if you place your identity in anything other than God and your principles, then it could be taken away at any moment. And so who are you? And so for me, this has been a beautiful experience in identity and who am I and who am I going to be? And that started, at the beginning of this, as soon as I was non-weight bearing, as soon as I went onto crutches, I would say within the first week, and the uncertainty probably spurred a lot of this, but I had floods of memories of unhealed wounds, things that I thought I had processed that really flooded my system when this happened, because it felt like it was along the same pathway of not being in control, of having somebody do harm to you who you trusted. And so all of these wounds that I thought I healed came flooding back. And I think we all have that. Something small can happen and we'll have old wounds flood us. And it's like, what are we going to do with them now? How are we going to process these? How do we not live by what occurred? That this is an occurrence. This isn't who I am. I think that's something really, really difficult for anyone who's experienced a setback, an injury. It doesn't have to be a major injury. It could be something small, but that really hits that right nerve inside of us that floods our system with all of our past pain and trauma that we thought wasn't there anymore.
Yeah. You've navigated this with such awareness and such like meeting yourself where you're at each day and like letting yourself, it's like allowing yourself to process the things. I loved how you talked about it being a daily practice. And I think that's true, especially in like those stretchy, uncertain seasons. And I can relate a bit as being an entrepreneur because it's like, the landscape's changing a lot and daily practices have been huge. And when it comes to we have these ideas that, yes, you need to work out consistently. And that one's obvious, but I think it's actually very similar with your mind and your energy. It's like if you don't have practices around those, it's easy for it. It's like a garden. It's like it just gets full of weeds and it's a mess, So I'm curious, what are some things that have helped you? Just what practices help you move through this so you can kind of, I see it as like kind of letting go of what's not serving you and bringing in what's really going to be helpful, but maybe you see it in a different way.
I think for me, what has served me is taking any heaviness that I felt in my body, things I hadn't said, people I hadn't forgiven. So at the very beginning of this, I thought to myself, if I can forgive me, if I can forgive me and my hip can forgive me for being complicit in something that brought harm, then I can forgive the people who have hurt me in the past when they didn't need to. If I could do this to myself without meaning to, then surely the people who have hurt me in the past did not mean to hurt me. And so if I want to be forgiven, then I need to forgive. And so that was big for me. And then I wanted to excavate anything that kept me heavy, anything that blocked my healing. And there was so much. And so much of it was old stuff, old stuff. And then a lot of it was what I had still hidden myself, right? I think, you think that if I'm the person who's practicing expression, that I'm always expressing. But there's so many things I don't feel vulnerable about, like aren't vulnerable to me. It's not vulnerable if you feel comfortable sharing it. It's not vulnerable anymore. It's just something you feel there. Something vulnerable, it feels hard. You feel that weird feeling after you say it. And you're like, oh, I said that out loud. So I started to excavate a lot of the things that I was hiding that had held me back. Like I think I had separated myself from people because I felt like that was safe. So I'm like, if I'm up here, if my brand is here, if my skills are here, if my philosophy is here, I can still share things that are, quote, vulnerable, but that don't actually make me feel really vulnerable because I feel really confident saying it. And I think when this happened, I know when this happened, I realized that I had been doing that for so long and it was extremely isolating. And we don't actually need to separate ourselves. Like we need to be in community is what we need. We need support and love. And we have to be vulnerable about the things that are happening inside of us, whatever those things are, whether they're good, whether they're bad. And I just started to say the stuff to the people. And what I mean by that is if it felt bad, I could share it. If I felt afraid, I could say it. If I felt low and weak, I can express that to my community. And what I found was that people showed up for me so much and so much more even than I ever could have imagined when I was completely stripped down and completely naked in this experience than they would have or could have if I wasn't. And so this idea in my mind that like people won't support you, this is a narrative that I had, unless you are separate from, was simply not true. But I was fulfilling that narrative by remaining in that position because I was not able to see the millionfold ways that people were able to support and be there for me and be in community with me when I was totally stripped down. And then it helped me, I think, support people in reverse in a deeper way, because when I showed more humanity, it was a lot more relatable instead of this thing that people were trying to attain. It's like, look, none of us are immune to pain for sure. So I think that helped. I think that helped me. And then the practices, like the daily practices, like I said, I don't have it all figured out. Sometimes I'm just a mess and that's what it is. And then I get sick of being a mess and I, pull my head out of my butt. And then I've been letting people coach me. Like I am a words of affirmation person, meaning your words can hurt me, but your words can help me. So if you say the right phrase to me, that can carry me through the rest of the week. So it's being able to tell people like, I need to be coached. Like I need help. I need to be talked out of this right now. And then letting people speak into my life has been extremely helpful. Like my physical therapist was like, you're not frail. You're not frail, Stop thinking you're frail. You're not. You're strong. You're strong. Your bone is healing. And those kind of words stick in my mind. And then praying. Honestly, the power of prayer and spiritual practice for me and praying to God and relying on God has been a really integral part of this journey. And then having people pray for me. So having my community and asking people, please pray for me, has empowered me in ways that I couldn't even imagine. I didn't even know was possible. So that's been really helpful. And then watching funny stuff. Like I had a friend come over and sang in community, letting people see me in my mess, like you said before, from the dance class, letting people see me in that mess, come over and see the mess in my house and see that, I have my like red light therapy device strewn about and that I'm not all together in my messy bun. And then seeing that people can love you through that. And then having friends say like, have you watched anything funny lately? Or are you just reading about your injury and how to heal it? Good point. Funny. Like I think when we have a problem, we obsess over the problem. And you're like, I'm going to feel my way through the problem, or I'm going to think my way through the problem. Sometimes you just need to let go of the problem completely and do something else and just let it be there.
Yes.
Does that answer your question?
More than you know. You used your life as the practice. I really acknowledge you. Like you've leaned into vulnerability, which I actually think created so much connection and community and people getting the opportunity to serve. It's kind of cyclical. It's like when somebody else is vulnerable, it will help be connecting, but then it also helps you do the same. And we talked about how sometimes we can experience shame if we think we're the only ones kind of messy. We're the only one like, oh, everybody else has it together. And it's like, no. Yeah. I love when people can be real. And I like your distinction around vulnerability is like, if it doesn't feel vulnerable to you, even though it would be maybe for somebody else, it's like, is that actually vulnerability? And finding your edge in it is like, that's where, yeah. So go in there. You went there. And I just thank you so much for being that and then sharing it here. Totally answered the questions. So I could keep talking to you for hours, but I want to give people an opportunity to connect with you more. So, of course, Kelly's on Insta, and then she has a couple things that she's working on. So tell us about the Audacity Academy. Tell us about where they can find you on Insta, and then there's a little bit of coaching, but I'll let you tell us Insta and then tell us more about Audacity Academy, one snippet about the word audacity. So I was given a challenge, it was a year ago, for 30 days to do something audacious once a day for 30 days. And I don't think I've felt more alive. Yeah, it was so fun. And I'm like, oh, I have to hit my Audacity goal today, to whoever I was with. Was like with my husband. I'm like, oh, I haven't done my Audacity thing. And man, I tell you, I was growing faster. I was living bigger. I was less overthinking. It's such a great word to just, if you are just more audacious, you're going to have a better life. I'm just saying, you're going to feel better. But tell us about your Insta and Audacity Academy.
So I'm KK Stahl on Instagram. That's where Instagram has been huge for me. I feel like most of my bookings, either as a dancer or as a choreographer, and I'm still choreographing very much so right now, but have come from Instagram. So you can find me at KK Stahl on Instagram, and feel free to DM me and reach out to me there as well. But I also have a website, which is kellyk.love, and you can message me there too. And I will get back to you on either one. A little bit more about me and some of the things that I do. I would recommend going to kellyk.love. And then right now, super exciting. I think it's in its 5th iteration. I started an academy called Audacity Academy. So to your point, being audacious, and it's like, have the audacity to walk into the room, to do the thing, to push yourself, to follow your dreams, to listen to the whisper inside of your soul that tells you that you want to do X, whatever that is for you. It doesn't have to be dance. And that academy trains mainly women. I mean, it's open to men, but honestly, we're such a girl gang that they're probably a little bit afraid of us. But it's Audacity Academy, and I train dancers to get better at dancing, but along that path to be better performers and more confident humans, both on the dance floor and off of the dance floor. And then I do coach women one-on-one. I don't take a ton of clients, so it is very much a case-by-case basis. But if somebody did want to be coached by me and spend a little bit more time with me, then I would be open to the process. It's just, I have very limited space. So sometimes I max out really fast. But if you want to train and dance, Audacity Academy usually has a spot open. We have sold out almost every single month, which has been amazing. But I always try to make a spot for somebody if they really want it, if I can. And I think just, follow our movement. Like, I would love, if you don't want coaching, or you don't want to do Audacity Academy, that's totally fine. Like, I want you to do what you want to do. I've never been much of a sales girl myself, but follow the movement, because we have some really, really great insights to share, some really good art to share. And I would just love to connect with a community as a whole. Like, if you're listening to this podcast, like, you are my person. So come be a part of it and keep listening to Jessica Joy, because she's so rad. I promise you, she brought me, I have to tell everyone, she brought me a meal kit, essentially, like total meal prep, where I had the best food ever for a few days and nobody was in town. And so I got to eat at this delicious, like, ground turkey, taco, homemade guac, homemade pico, like the whole thing. So thank you for that. Thank you for that, for showing up as a community member for me. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And yes, go find Kelly on Insta. I was looking at your content before this, and there's even snippets in your content that have those coaching moments in your classes, and you can see her dance, and like, you will be instantly activated. And just thank you so much for sharing your gifts, your wisdom, your life experience, and being open and honest. Can't thank you enough. So we're excited to continue connecting with you on various places of the internet. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Like, audacious, let's go. And also embracing some messiness, some vulnerability, trust, confidence. We gain so much. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kelly. And go rock it out. Bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.